You're watching WNDU-TV. NewsCenter 16 at noon starts now.
Breaking right now, police are searching for a gunman who shot and killed 2 people on the campus of a Michigan college. The manhunt began earlier this morning at Central Michigan University. Here's what we know. Police were called to a Campbell Hall, which is a dorm, after reports of shots fired there. Now, the school then issued a warning to students to take shelter. According to police, 2 people were shot and killed inside the dorm building. Those 2 were not students, and officials believe the incident began as a domestic situation. The person of interest has been identified as 19-year-old James Eric Davis Jr. And again, police are looking for him as he is considered armed and dangerous. Central Michigan has about 23,000 students and is located in Mount Pleasant, about 70 miles north of Lansing. Again, we will continue to follow the developments of the story and bring you the updates both on air and online. And another breaking story, this time out of Lebanon, Indiana, near Indianapolis. Indiana State Police say all suspects are now in custody after a shooting seriously injured a Boone County Sheriff's officer. According to our sister station WTHR, officers were serving an arrest warrant when 3 people got in a car and pursuit began on I-65. Now, at some point during the chase, the officer got into a foot pursuit and was shot. He is in critical condition at this hour. One suspect was taken into custody. Another who was injured in the shooting was taken to a hospital. The 3rd suspect, James Baldwin Sr., later gave himself up to police. Police are still investigating the incident. A lot of breaking news this afternoon, folks. In other news, severe weather is threatening both coasts of the U.S. right now. On the West Coast in Southern California, as many as 30,000 people are under orders to leave in the foothill communities of Santa Barbara and Ventura counties. That includes areas devastated by deadly mud flows in January. Authorities didn't know how many have heeded the warnings. And to the north, a blizzard warning is in effect for parts of the Sierra Nevada. More than 2 feet of snow fell there yesterday, and another foot is expected today. It has shut down major roads. Meanwhile, in the Northeast, nearly 50 million people throughout Washington, D.C. and New England are in the path of a dangerous nor'easter. It's bringing damaging wind, major flooding, torrential rains, and snowfall in that region right now. The National Weather Service in Boston issuing this warning to take this storm seriously, calling life-threatening is what they're calling this storm. They say it could be worse than the massive storm that wreaked havoc on the region earlier this year. But the real concern is with the flooding, with the long-lasting storm continuing through multiple high tides. This storm is impacting a large part of the country. For a closer look at this, we have David Harker. You've been creating these maps all morning, trying to help us understand what's going on both coasts.
Well, yeah, and as we know, we just talked about out on the western coastline, how they're dealing with all these different types of weather patterns. Certainly Sierra Nevadas, they're up in the mountains, so they're seeing the heavy snow showers. Here along there in the Northeast, you'll notice that counterclockwise motion as we've got this low pressure system. We've got more precipitation in the forecast. I'll let you know when coming up later. Josh?
Thank you, David. Berrien County was hit hard by last week's flooding, and this weekend they need your help. Over 300 homes have been affected, an estimated $3.6 million worth of damage to private homes and up to $4 million in damage to public property. And it's not just human beings being impacted here. Animal control has about 35 animals rescued from these floods alone. Now, meanwhile, 27 people who have been staying at shelters in Berrien County are now making their way back to their homes. United Way is hosting 2 volunteer events in Niles and Berrien Springs this weekend. We have more details about how you can help on our website and the app. And for all of us here at WNDU, this is home. So we joined forces with the Red Cross and asked you to pitch in and help your neighbors struggling to recover from the devastating floods. And once again, folks, you prove that when your neighbors are in need, you step up to the plate. Thanks to you and other viewers and several generous area businesses, the Red Cross was able to raise nearly, count it, $56,000 to help Michiana flood victims. First Source Bank matched the $5,000 in donations people made during our noon show. And in other news, police are looking for the man who robbed a Boost Mobile store in South Bend. Michiana Crime Stoppers tweeted these photos of the suspect. Police say it happened at around 8 last night at the store on South Michigan. Officers are looking for a black man who was wearing all black clothing. Dispatchers tell us no one was hurt. If you have any information, you're being asked to call Crime Stoppers at 574-288-STOP or submit your anonymous tip online. We're getting an update from the pill drop event that was held this past weekend in St. Joseph County. 723 pounds of prescription drugs were taken in on Saturday. The purpose of the event was to collect unwanted or unused medications. That way they stay out of the hands of those who shouldn't have them. The medications will be delivered to the DEA and then burned. All right, folks, dignitaries including President Donald Trump and religious icons from around the entire globe are converging in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. They're paying their final respects to Billy Graham, also called the nation's pastor. Jay Gray is with The Morning.
Hey there, behind me, thousands gathering right now at the Billy Graham Museum and Library for his funeral after being honored in Washington.
Everywhere he went, Reverend Graham delivered the same beautiful message. God loves you.
The Reverend Billy Graham back home now in Charlotte, North Carolina. There will be a service here today. His son will speak, his personal pastor as well. President Trump will be in attendance along with many dignitaries. And then this afternoon there will be a private interment. Graham will be buried here on the grounds next to his wife. And all more than 2,000 expected to be here to honor and celebrate the life of Billy Graham, an evangelist who covered the world, spoke with presidents, and now will again be remembered here in Charlotte. That is the latest from Charlotte. I'm Jay Gray. Now back to you.
Thank you, Jay. LL Bean is joining the long list of retailers that will no longer sell guns to people under the age of 21. This comes after the deadly school shooting in Florida. The company says it only sells firearms at its flagship store in Maine, and those guns are only specific to hunting and target shooting. The company went on to say it does not and never has supported the NRA. LL Bean's announcement follows other major retailers like Dick's, Walmart, and Kroger, which changed their policies this week in response to the shooting. And new at noon, two-time Olympian and American gymnast Aly Raisman is suing the U.S. Olympic Committee and USA Gymnastics. She says both organizations knew or should have known about the sexual abuse committed by former team doctor Larry Nassar. He pleaded guilty to numerous counts of sexually abusing female athletes under the guise of medical treatment. He's been sentenced in multiple courts and will spend the rest of his life in prison.